Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I want to talk about the future. Big surprise, but no, I want to discuss where I believe Ubisoft and Massive are headed with The Division 2. Obviously, ever since almost a year ago now, there's been a lot of uncertainty as to what the plan is with The Division 2. We know we're getting a big new update and now subsequent title updates throughout 2022 as per their wording, but there's never been an official explanation as for why 2.12 was supposed to be the final update, and kind of what prompted Ubisoft to change their minds to where we are now. And so while I have certainly my own beliefs and understandings as to why those things occurred, a lot of people are far less certain, which is fair. We haven't had a state of the game ever since all this drama went down, so that we might hear directly from the devs themselves. We've just had the published articles, and you never know who actually writes those. But regardless, that uncertainty has kind of carried over into the Division 2's future from this point, and I've seen a lot of people say that they either don't believe or just don't know what might happen after these next few updates that have been confirmed. So today I want to present you all with my long-term outlook on the Division 2's future, notably after 2022, the timeline that we pretty much have laid out for those updates that are coming to us, because as the thumbnail suggests, I think there's actually a pretty solid chance that we're heading towards another paid full-scale expansion akin to Warlords of New York, and I think that there's a lot of evidence and reasoning to back that up, so without further ado, let's get into it. Without getting into the full story, because I have gone over it countless times by now, if you're still genuinely confused or don't know why the whole drama with 2.12 being the final update and then the decision to revert the course back, if you're still in the dark about that stuff, then do please comment, and I can certainly link you to one of my past videos where I go over it. But the point remains that from January to February of 2021, Massive and the remaining Division 2 team went from preparing to close down live operations to rebuilding and reconstructing an entire development team in order to continue working on and producing content for the Division 2, both with their new partnership at Ubisoft Bucharest, but also new hires at Massive, and we'll circle back to that before the end of the video. But the main point here is, in order for that to have happened, that required investment in time, resources, and money, all of that coming from the same people who first decided to end things after 2.12, then said they wanted more content after that, Ubisoft Corporate. And my long-standing argument against the people that say, well, I guess you can't say that we're just getting one update anymore, because the devs have confirmed to us back in October that there will at least be a handful of title updates after this first big one, but to anyone who thinks that we're just going to get a few little updates and then things will shut down again, where's the incentive there for Ubisoft? From everything that's been telegraphed to us thus far, we know that this first big update is going to be free. Every time it's mentioned, it's labeled as an update. One of their most ambitious title updates to date was the wording they used. And updates are free. The content coming in that update that we know about so far isn't a level increase. There isn't a whole new campaign. It's not paid expansion content. It's a free update to all existing Warlords of New York owners, and that's great for us. It's fantastic. But where's the financial incentive for Ubisoft to put so much investment into rebuilding the Division 2's development team if we were just going to see one free update or a handful of them afterwards? Sure, they'll make some money on new cosmetics in the store, new apparel events, the premium season tracks, but those aren't the big ticket items. And frankly, even if we were to get like a full year's worth of seasons following the release of this first update, I don't think all those season tracks and all those cosmetics will cover what it's cost Ubisoft to reconstruct this development team and to fund them for what will be over a year before this first update releases. It'll certainly help, but I just don't see it doing the trick. So then the question remains, what was their intent? Why did Ubisoft go back on their original plan to shut down the Division 2 and now to want to keep it going? Well, the resounding answer that I've heard, and after doing my own research and talking to a lot of people, is that it was Warlords of New York. By the time Wony dropped, I think Ubisoft had probably already made the decision to shut down development after 2.12 and after a year's worth of seasons. Large numbers of Division 2 developers were already slated to be pulled to Star Wars. That's why we saw Julian, Thylander, Drew, a lot of those people, move on right after Wony dropped. Red Storm had already been split off to go work on Heartland, and I just don't think Ubisoft had a ton of faith in this expansion, which was so dumb, because if they had just done more stuff like this to begin with, I think they'd have seen just how valuable the Division IP can be. But regardless, the expansion drops, and it sells really well, both with the existing player base, those who would join more recently in those like $3 sales they had, and totally new players who jumped on board and used their level 30 boosts. And I think that's when we saw that later reported 40 million player base was around Wony's launch. And all of a sudden, Ubisoft is like, oh, what the hell? The Division can make money? Because apparently they'd forgotten that Division 1 holds the record of the best-selling new IP of all time. So long story short, the most plausible explanation for why Ubisoft decided to keep the Division 2 going was because of the success of its first and only expansion. You see where I'm going here? I think that this is the most likely roadmap ahead of us. We get this first big free update in the next few months, then a few subsequent ones to go along with the multiple seasons that are likely planned. And in general, the goal of these updates will be to revitalize the endgame, give the player base new and fun things to do again, hopefully balance things out, keep things fresh, and then just when the community is satisfied enough and the year-and-a-half content gap is far enough in the rear view, bam, they drop a new expansion, which at that point I would guess mid-2023 or like Q3 of 2023. I mean, it's going to take them a long while to build this thing up if they haven't already begun preliminary plans and whatnot, because the current dev team size, even with Bucharest, is, from my understanding, still a lot smaller than the team size and all the partner studios were when WONI was in development. And then at that point, I think Ubisoft's hope is that the player base will be rekindled enough and hopefully will be satisfied with the free content they've gotten thus far from 2022 onward. And then I'm sure their hope is that they can come close to matching the profits and success that they made with Warlords. Again, none of this is confirmed. This is all my own speculation, but from everything that I've seen, this just makes the most sense to me. And then from there, who knows? If that expansion does well, then they might start to work on another one. And then maybe, comes out a year and a half later, maybe the new team continues to grow and they could finally stick to the yearly expansion release model that so many of us thought that they should have been planning for Division 2's release. That could then maybe lead us all the way to a Division 3 production, and release one day several years down the road after Star Wars is wrapped up and all that stuff. That part I'm not going to claim as boldly here, but I do feel pretty confident that the current plan is to lead up to the release of one more expansion for the Division 2, however long that might take, and then just kind of gauge from there what they might want to do next. And then just kind of as a side component here, I think you can already see that Massive is continuing to slowly build out their new development team to continue the Division 2 long term. They recently hired a product director who started on the job just this past week, I believe. And he's already been going around the community and interacting with people, which is really awesome to see. The underlying goal of a product director is to assess and plan the long-term goals and cohesiveness of a product, in this case, the Division 2. On top of that, Palle Hofstein, who I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with by now, he's one of the top developers at Massive who is still on the Division 2. He focuses in producing and the art team. Just tweeted a few days ago about how another artist hire started with my team today. This is going to be an awesome art team, which just reaffirms once again that Massive has been and continues to slowly rebuild their development team roster, which again, you don't do if you aren't planning long term. And so while I totally understand that it can be kind of hard to see and hard to believe when we've been in such uncertainty for so long now, there is a long-term plan for the Division 2 in place. One that I believe will lead us to another big expansion likely in 2023, but one that will carry us for probably many years to come. And that's something really exciting to think about, on top of all the other Division Universe stuff that we have coming our way. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on to be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts on the Division 2's future. First off, what do you think about Massive's continual hirings and strengthening of their core team? And do you think that they might be heading towards another WONI-like expansion, or are they just going to focus on free content moving forward? Whatever you're thinking, of course, let me know. I'll be very curious to see what all of your outlooks on the future may be. Hopefully, we're not waiting too long to resume our communication with the devs about what and when we can expect our first free update for this new era for the Division 2. My remaining theory is that we might get the reveal in PTS in March and then the full update in May, but who knows? Could be any time. At this point, I'm used to waiting, so as much as I would like to have it now, I'm happy to give them however long they need. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me today. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.